Chinese President Xi Jinping warned US President Donald Trump on Thursday that missteps regarding Taiwan could push their nations into a perilous conflict. Confirmed by Euronews, the United States has cancelled the deployment of 4,000 troops to Poland, following a growing diplomatic rift between Washington and Berlin. The Hungarian government has ended the state of emergency imposed by former Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and Budapest summoned the Russian ambassador to condemn the drone attack in Ukraine. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing an open rebellion within its government following the resignation of Health Secretary Wes Streeting. Chinese President Xi Jinping warned US President Donald Trump on Thursday that missteps regarding Taiwan could push their nations into a perilous conflict. In a stark opening to their superpower summit in Beijing, the Chinese leader described the island as the most important issue in their relationship. While President Trump arrived with praises and compliments for his friend, the 2 hour and 15 minutes of talks were marked by blunt language behind closed doors. Xi Jinping referenced the Thucydides trap, questioning whether the two powers could forge a new paradigm rather than falling into the historical cycle of war. While tensions simmer over the Pacific, Trump confirmed that Xi has offered to help negotiate an end to the Iran war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz to global shipping. The US president stated that Xi provided a strong assurance that China would not provide military equipment to the Iranian regime, though Beijing intends to continue purchasing Iranian oil. In a sign of immediate de-escalation on the water, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards have already allowed multiple Chinese ships to pass through the strait since Wednesday night. On the trade front, Trump announced a deal for China to purchase 200 Boeing jets, a move expected to secure thousands of American jobs. The US delegation, which includes Tesla's Elon Musk and Nvidia's Jensen Huang, is also working to establish a board to address differences in technology and agriculture. However, the $11 billion arms package authorized for Taiwan remains a major hurdle, with Beijing warning that any mishandling could lead to a direct collision.
Would like to see a deal.
The United States has cancelled the deployment of 4,000 troops to Poland, following a growing diplomatic rift between Washington and Berlin. The Pentagon previously announced a drawdown of 5,000 soldiers from Germany after German Chancellor Friedrich Merz criticized the US-led war in Iran. In an abrupt move confirmed by Euronews, Washington has now scrapped the highly advanced rotational force that was already scheduled to replace units in Poland. The decision caused disappointment in Warsaw, where officials previously hoped to host the repositioned American forces to secure the eastern flank against Russia. Polish President Karol Nawrocki stated on Wednesday that his country was ready to receive the troops, but Polish Deputy Prime Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz sought to downplay the cancellation on Thursday morning. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte also sidestepped the issue during a press conference in Bucharest, while alliance officials insisted the move would not affect core deterrence and defense plans.
Some disappointment.
Russian attacks across Ukraine continued from earlier in the day to overnight, killing at least 7 people in total and injuring 31 others. Officials in the Ukrainian capital said the airstrikes targeted several districts of Kyiv, damaging multiple residential buildings and civilian infrastructure. It comes as both Moscow and Kyiv resumed attacks after Russia ended a 3-day ceasefire with Ukraine on Tuesday. The earlier daytime attacks on Wednesday, comprised of at least 800 Russian drones targeting mainly western Ukraine, killed 6 people and wounded dozens of others. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Moscow launched its drones in waves, deliberately targeting regions closest to the borders of NATO countries. Zelensky urged US President Donald Trump to discuss ending the conflict during his meetings this week with Chinese leader Xi Jinping.
The new Hungarian government has officially ended the state of emergency that was put in place during the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic by former Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The new Prime Minister Peter Magyar stated that the move represents a return to normality, arguing that the decree-based emergency rule was an outdated wartime method. The previous administration under Orban had repeatedly extended the measure, citing security and humanitarian risks following the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The European Parliament had long criticized the system as incompatible with European values. In a stark shift in foreign policy, Budapest has also summoned the Russian ambassador Evgeny Stanislavov, following a massive drone attack near the border with Ukraine. The strikes hit the Transcarpathia region, which is home to a significant Hungarian minority. On Wednesday, Russia launched at least 800 drones in a barrage that targeted roughly 20 regions across Ukraine, killing 6 people and wounding dozens. Prime Minister Magyar strongly condemned the attack, noting that Foreign Minister Anita Orban would demand information on when Vladimir Putin plans to end the conflict. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed the shift in Budapest, describing the summons as an important message.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing an open rebellion within his government following the resignation of Health Secretary Wes Streeting. Streeting is the first cabinet members to step down since Labour suffered disastrous losses in last week's local and regional elections, which saw the party lose control of the devolved Welsh Parliament and drop more than 1,300 council seats. In his resignation letter, Streeting sharply criticized Starmer's direction, writing that a vacuum of vision had left the administration in a state of drift. The departure follows the resignation of 4 junior ministers, with more than 80 Labour MPs now openly calling on the Prime Minister to step down. While Starmer has vowed to remain in office, backed by roughly 100 loyalist lawmakers, internal pressure continues to mount as potential contenders position themselves. Former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, a left-wing figurehead highly popular with the party's grassroots, announced she has been cleared of deliberate wrongdoing by tax authorities. The development effectively clears her path to enter a future leadership contest alongside Streeting. Supporters of Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham are also urging Starmer to set a clear timetable for his departure, allowing the mayor to seek Westminster's seat and join the race.
To fight this pandemic.
Under party rules, a challenger requires the backing of 81 Labour MPs to trigger a formal contest.
The European Commission announced a non-binding recommendation to end conversion practices targeting LGBTQI+ people. The bloc's equality chief Hadja Labib called conversion therapy torture and said it is up to the EU to react and combat these practices.
It's a torture, and it's a physical and psychological harassment that could lead to a deep depression or suicide. And that's why we need really to react and to combat these practices. And these young citizens who gather 1 million signatures succeed to create awareness. We've launched a study, and we are going to organize, to put into place a forum for discussion between member states, between the Commission.
The resolution, however, is non-binding and falls short of the EU-wide ban on conversion practices that advocates had demanded. When asked why the executive had not gone as far, Labib admitted a lack of unanimity among member states.
The president of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, is in Kazakhstan on a state visit, focused on the current state of bilateral relations and future areas of cooperation between the two countries. We are currently at the Palace of Independence in Astana. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev personally greeted Erdogan at the airport yesterday and again today at this venue, where the two leaders are expected to co-chair the 6th High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council between Kazakhstan and Turkey, where economic ties, energy collaboration, and investment opportunities will be at the center of discussions. A key agenda item is boosting trade turnover between the two countries to almost 13 billion euro, alongside plans to sign a series of new bilateral agreements and engage in a joint business forum with industry leaders. Looking ahead to May 15th, both presidents are also set to participate in an informal summit of leaders of the Organization of Turkic States, where discussions are expected to focus on artificial intelligence and digital development.
Alexandra Mattheou is heading to Cannes with her short film Free Eliza, or Notes on an Anatomical Imperfection. The film will have its world premiere at the Director's Fortnight, the section of the festival long known for championing independent and daring cinematic voices. Eliza, the film's protagonist, works at a luxury hotel resort. Because of an anatomical deficiency, she is unable to smile. In a world dominated by positivity, this becomes a serious problem.
Επειδή με απασχολεί γενικά αυτό το θέμα της τοξικής θετικότητας, γιατί το βλέπω παντού και ειδικά σε ένα περιβάλλον όπως ενός ξενοδοχείου, όπου το να είσαι εργαζόμενος σχεδόν δεν σου επιτρέπεται να είσαι κάτι άλλο εκτός από χαρούμενος. Δηλαδή, σε ένα ξενοδοχείο τίποτα δεν μπορεί να πάει, τίποτα δεν μπορεί να είναι κακό, γιατί εκεί φροντίζεις για όσους διαμένουν εκεί. Οπότε τα προβλήματα της ζωής σου μένουν στην απέξω κάθε μέρα.
A co-production between Cyprus, Greece and France, the film is one of just 9 short films selected for this year's program. Filming for Alexandra Mattheou's third short film lasted 4 days.
Γιατί σε ένα πρώτο επίπεδο ναι, είναι το χαμόγελο και η έλλειψή του και πώς αυτό σε διαφοροποιεί από τους γύρω, αλλά σε ένα δεύτερο επίπεδο είναι γενικά όποιος άνθρωπος τείνει να παρεκκλίνει από την νόρμα του τι θεωρείται κοινωνικά ok. Αυτό με ενδιέφερε να δώσω αυτήν την ηρωίδα. Μεγαλώνοντας έχω καταλάβει ότι τελικά είναι ένα όπλο το να μπορείς να συνδιαλέγεσαι με τους ανθρώπους με χαμόγελο. Αμέσως φαίνεσαι λιγότερο απειλητικός, ίσως μπορείς να κατακτήσεις και πράγματα πιο εύκολα από ότι άλλοι άνθρωποι που τους υπολείπεται αυτό το κοινωνικό, ας το πούμε, skill. Αλλά αξίζει να εγγύψει κανείς με τρυφερότητα και μια φροντίδα σε ανθρώπους που μπορεί να μην τους επιτρέπει η ιδιοσυγκρασία τους να γεφυρώσουν ένα κοινωνικό διάλογο με ένα χαμόγελο, αλλά δεν θεωρώ ότι είναι αναπηρία σε καμία περίπτωση.
The 79th Cannes Film Festival runs this year from May 12 to May 23rd.